Hey everybody, I am coming to you pretty much hot off the heels of today's Indie World presentation from Nintendo. Today's August 7th, 2025. This is being recorded live on the Twitch side, so if you ever want to join in on these live discussions, you can hit the follow button. That's always in the description of the videos, by the way. But otherwise, if you're here now after the fact, we're going to go back through the Indie World and try and point out any of the highlights. And also, this was just a weird Indie World in terms of presentation pacing, the actual content that was included and highlighted. You are going to find a couple of gems in here. And the reason I specifically want to do this breakdown is because I want to look up extra details about the games, figure out what's worth your attention. But overall, I feel like just as a general statement on the Indie Direct so far, it felt like we were missing just a little bit of that new indie magic. I think you largely get a lot of ports or updates in this presentation compared to other indie worlds. I don't have a lot of expectations on indie worlds. You can't really do solid predictions on those outside of ports because the best things that you get out of indie worlds are the unexpected, completely new ideas for you to sink your teeth into, something really creative that the developer came up with that you would not have thought of. And yes, there are little pieces here that we'll talk about that still fit that role, but I just feel like compared to past indie worlds, the proportion of those here was on the lower side. So, is this possibly the worst indie world that Nintendo's ever put out? I guess we're about to do the full breakdown and find out, so stick around. We'll be starting with the North American version because as I am speaking English right now, you can probably figure out that's the version I watched. But Japan got their own version of this indie world, which was longer and paced very differently and gave different times to different games. There were even games in there that we did not see in ours, and vice versa, actually. There was at least one in the North American Direct that was not in the Japan Direct. So why not? We're going to scrub through both, but I'm going to start with the one that most of you watching this have probably watched. All right, got the indie world pulled up. Just have to scroll past all the pre-live time that was there. I'll cut this little bit before it goes up on YouTube. So if you're watching live, this is our secret time. Use the arrow keys to scrub. This is a pro tip. All right, so the North American indie world opened on its little animation, and then we got a cold open with, hey, remember Mina the Hollower from Yacht Club Games? If you have not been watching this game, then, here it is. And I would say it was worth including this trailer at the beginning. This is a known quantity, but at the same time, this confirms with the little text at the bottom underneath my red scroll bar that they are showing Nintendo Switch 2 footage of the game, and so that suggests, hey, it's going to run a little better on Switch 2, so you might want to pick it up there if you can. People will get curious, how is the performance of the game on Switch 2 versus Switch 1? And so now you have a frame of reference. And maybe go back to see Switch 1 footage in previous indie worlds. I like that tower climbing sequence. It looks really fun. This is a game that I demoed at a PAX East event one time. It was not the most recent one, but some time ago, they actually had a playable demo of the game there. I've spent some time with it. Of course, one of the big comparisons is Link's Awakening because it's just got that Game Boy pixel art style. But if you want to demo it for yourself, that demo is now available. So I encourage you to do that. Go right ahead. Best way to learn about a game is to play it for yourself, but the full thing launches on Halloween. So, absolutely would keep my eye on it. It was a very solid way to open the direct and, yeah, it gave me some positive hope going into things. Now we skip ahead a smidge. And we see a Metroidvania, your typical. This is not your Silk Song, but I guess it's as close as you're going to get for today. And side note, I don't personally have much investment in Silk Song because anytime I've played a game that's like Hollow Knight, it has just not jived with me. I've gotten frustrated by them. I'm just not good at them, I guess. I really tried. In the case of Hollow Knight, it was getting stuck on a boss, and in the case of the currently released Shadow Labyrinth from Bandai Namco, it's like just getting lost in an area and frustrated that I have no clue where to go. But this is Well Dweller, and it could be better than both of those games. We don't know. Although I guess a lot of people would say there'd be a big bar to clear to claim that this would be any better than Hollow Knight, but it's got its own thing going on for sure. The visuals remind me a lot of the World of Goo series, particularly when they're launching black goo during one of the boss fights. We see a slingshot item for navigating around to give yourself a ledge to jump off of, so that tells you a bit about traversal right there. You see him slide past enemies, get behind them, and then start doing your slash combo. Be bouncing off of some bubbles. Here's the World of Goo style goo for you. Oh man, like look at the little bunnies on the neck of this thing. That is quite something. So this game is not for me, but I would at least go so far as to say that it was another solid showing for the indie world. If you're looking for another Metroidvania to play, then this could be up your alley. I believe we're waiting until 2026, though. Yeah, this is a next year title, but a brief look at what's to come. All right, looking up some additional information on Well Dweller. The publisher is Top Hat Games. They have previously published Crypt Custodian, Frogun, Henchman Story. Oh, Kaichu, the Kaichu dating sim. Oh boy. There is a much longer list here. I'm not going to read the entire thing. Are there any others that I recognize? Just those. And the developer is Kyle Thompson, who has done Crypt Custodian, Islets, Cheapo, and now Well Dweller. What was Islets like? That was an action adventure with a painterly style. Crypt Custodian was another Metroidvania. So, not their first Metroidvania. Got some experience under the belt. Yeah, I would at least keep an eye on it if you're into the Metroidvania scene, but I don't think it's gonna be for me. Now, skipping ahead, we have a chat with the devs before seeing Neverway. For this is not the first time we've seen Neverway. This is why I was talking about this presentation being largely ports and updates. This has definitely been shown at Indie Worlds before this one. And we're just getting the latest update on it. Which isn't inherently a bad thing, but when your presentation is packed full of stuff like this and we're looking for something new, and the last new thing that you showed was that what was that one just called? Well Dweller, but you have to wait until 2026 for that. So it's kind of a similar situation to the last partner direct where, you know, people who want stuff right now are not going to be the happiest. Although we get some shadow drops later, and one of those is the best possible outcome. Like, believe me, it's not all bad here. So yeah, this continues to be a game that exists. From the Steam description of this game, set to release in 2026, Neverway is a blend of horror, life sim, and action RPG. Quit your dead end job, and now there is a nightmare reality leaking into yours. Pixel artist who worked on Celeste and music by Disaster Peak. This was all mentioned in the indie world, of course. You have the option to be truthful to people or deceive them, which will change how your relationship is, and those relationships help you unlock abilities. So, there's an interesting enough premise here. I feel like a demo would absolutely help, but it's probably just not far along enough to have a demo. We are still waiting until next year. Yeah, this feels like a game that would benefit from a demo because it's one that I'm just unsure of, and at this point, we're just waiting to see the thing actually come out because we've been teased about this at past Indie World. So, now moving on. Now moving on, we get Herdling, the giant escort mission game, which will hopefully be better than your typical video game escort mission. Am I right? You're protecting this herd as you're trying to reach your destination. Looks like you have some bits of faster movement at some points, but at other points you are just kind of trudging along, climbing things. And that's my number one issue with this little trailer, is that a lot of it is just spent on walking with the herd when there are certain points where it seems like, if as the trailer keeps going, it seems like it is a bit more involved than that. You have this rod of sorts, that a spear, staff, whatever you want to call it. They do mention environmental puzzles near the end, and that's something. Okay, so you had to get that bridge down. There's this other thing involving these bushes. Like stampeding them along. You have to fight the wind. And this one's coming out soon. This will be out in 2 weeks at the time of recording this. So maybe I just wish the trailer didn't show so much of the walking bit. But I mean, if that's what the game is, then I guess you want to be truthful to what the game actually is. But maybe there's more to unpack with this one. All right, Hardline is coming to Steam as well, so I'm looking at the Steam page for that one, and it's got the tags Atmospheric Adventure Indie Exploration. Is a new adventure from the creators of the Far series and the publisher of Firewatch. Now, if you played Firewatch, you know that that one's a lot of walking around, but like the narrative is what really drives that game. I haven't played the Far series though. All right, protect your herd, traverse the mountainscape, the forest, etc. Hone your skills with challenges, threats, and light environmental puzzles. This is an emotional, wordless tale. Trust, companionship, crossing through a fallen world. I think if you have played the Far series, which doesn't apply to me, but if you are someone unlike me who has played the Far series, then it seems like this is a sort of follow up that would be good for you. But on its own, I would need more convincing to play this game. because I'm just not fully convinced by the walking bits. All right, moving along, we have... Okay, this was a mini highlight of the presentation. It's maybe not the greatest thing I've ever seen, but I like puzzles. And so this is just a typical... This is a logic puzzle, right? I want to be here, but I want to be there, and you need to meet all the conditions at the same time. And so it's just about placing people in the seats. It's called Is This Seat Taken?, which is a great title for a game. Last year we had such great game titles as Thank Goodness You're Here. Now we have Is This Seat Taken? It's fun. I like that as a title for the game. It looks cute. I think the price is going to be the make or break thing on this one, but this is one of the shadow drops that we got from this indie world. But I could see myself playing it for a bit, just as a chill puzzle situation. All right, and now in the background, I have pulled up the Steam page because this game is also on Steam. Makes a lot of sense. It looked like the sort of inputs you were doing, dragging people to the seat, would really benefit from mouse. I don't think they mentioned any specific Switch 2 functionality to use the mouse in this game. It would be neat if there was. I will check for that before the end of this video. But let's just see what the Steam page says first. There's an introductory 10% off if you buy it before the August 21st. It looks like base price is $10. So right now it's $9. So that's good. That's more on the budget side, especially compared to $80 games. So you got different environments with their own puzzles, like the movie theater or the bus or the restaurant. There is no timer and no leaderboard for these puzzles. Specifically mentions that as a feature. So yeah, I might actually pick this one up. Not gonna lie. Let me check on that. I want to check the Switch eShop page because this game is out. Oop, sorry for banning that. I just pulled up the game on the Switch eShop so that we can check for any other details. It is the same price as it is on Steam, but without the 10% off offer. Basically the same description as it was on Steam. Switch 2 game is consistent with Nintendo Switch. 437 megabytes. Not a large game. This software supports touch screen. All right. I suppose that makes sense as a priority since this game is compatible with Switch 1 and not just Switch 2. So it seems like that's a no on the mouse controls. However, you can use the touch screen to basically recreate that feeling. Just point and drag stuff to their spots. And so, yeah, that's a decent solution if they didn't have a Switch 2 dev kit to work with the mouse stuff, or if they just felt like it wasn't worth the extra development to do that because they've already got the touchscreen thing going on, and that works on both Switch and Switch 2. Like, I'll give them that. And I will probably be picking up that little shadow drop later. All right, let's go back to scrubbing through. Oh, Little Kitty Big City. All right, so add this to the list of updates. Or like this game. This is a game we already have. This is the picture perfect update. Ugh. I'm sorry. I'm not much into photo modes. I get that people can do cool stuff with them, and I know most people probably enjoy the idea that there is a photo mode more than the people who don't. Like, I've just never really gotten into it. I'm like, I'm here to play the game. It's fine if you enjoy that, though. Obviously, like, if they give you a feature and you want to use it, then that means it was a good feature. Like, I don't know what this update really adds in terms of gameplay. Like, are there new missions and stuff? It kind of seems like they're trying to imply that with the new celebrity cat character. Anyway, but before I check on those extra details by looking it up, let me just say I've heard a lot of people just kind of call this Untitled Goose Game, but for cat, and they're fundamentally different. I've briefly played this game at one point, and I didn't stick with it. It's completely fine. Like, it's 100% fine, but it wasn't so totally engaging. Uh, Untitled Goose Game is a lot more freeform, and I think there's a lot more freedom in that game for you to find things to do your own way and make your own humor. Whereas Little Kitty Big City, it just felt more like I was going around and there were specific methods for getting things done. So, like, I don't equate the two. There's nothing wrong with making a game where there's an objective and a specific way to complete that objective. People have been asking Zelda to go back to that formula just as an example. So, like, that doesn't make it a bad game. I want to reiterate, this is a fine game. It's not Untitled Goose Game. Do not pick this game up expecting it to be like that one. There might be little bits and things you can do as the cat that are just for fun as you explore the city. But in terms of like open-ended solutions to objectives, it does not match what Untitled Goose Game can offer you in that regard. Just know they're different beasts. A goose and a cat are not the same animal. All right, I found a post on Steam about the free update, so I'm just going to read through it and try and give you the highlights. There are new parts of the neighborhood. All right, so the map is actually getting larger. So if you like the base game, and keep in mind this is a free update, then it's literally giving you more game. That's good. It's not just the photo mode, even though that's what they titled the update after. So new parts of the neighborhood, new characters, character customization, which was shown. It's very surprising that wasn't in there from the get-go. Oh, and there will be more hats. Did they mention there will be more hats? Obviously, this is not dated just yet, but well, that at least makes it easy for me to recommend. If you have already played Little Kitty Big City and you enjoyed your time with it, there is absolutely no reason not to pick up the free update and play it because there is more game to play. That was my number one thing. I wanted to make sure that this wasn't just a character customization and photo mode update. They maybe could have done a better job elaborating on the actual gameplay bits, but yeah, that's coming if you want it. But again, it's not really it's new for that game, but it's not new in the sense that this presentation was like, wow, I'm so glad I watched this to learn that. All right, next thing is content warning. So now we got a port. Where this game has been a thing on PC for a little while, and it is absolutely a concept that I cringe at. Like, I guess I get the gameplay potential of trying to film stuff, but on the other hand, like, I don't want to think about ad revenue. This is already something I just do as a hobby, and even then, I'm not fully satisfied with numbers and all that. But yeah, you can sit with each other and watch your content. Like, uh, if you enjoy it, good for you. This is just so not for me. So it's a port of a game that we already know about, and it's not coming until next year. I'm very surprised that this isn't a Switch 2 exclusive because it seems like the kind of game, especially with the online elements, that would benefit from just stronger hardware. It was a PC release in the first place, so there you can count on people having components. Here, We'll see. I expect the Switch version to run terribly. But I guess they wanted to go for that market. And if they get it running well on Switch, then good for them. So now we move into Ball Pit. And I don't know how many people watched Devolver's most recent presentation back during Summer Game Fest. It was solely dedicated to this game because they are the ones publishing it. And it was like, it's completely incomparable to the presentations they've done in the past. You go into a Devolver presentation and you expect that even if you don't get any games whatsoever, that they at least deliver something entertaining. But it was 15 minutes spent on just this game, and they were really dragging out the same joke over and over again. Did you catch that the name of the game says ball? That's funny because balls. Look at all these balls. That was the entire joke for 15 minutes. It had been said in different ways, but it was the same joke for 15 minutes. But when I saw this game, I was at least mildly interested in the game itself because it seemed to me like we were doing Breakout or Alleyway mechanics. I really like Breakout / Alleyway. For those who don't know, big fan. That's a classic game right there. Bouncing your stuff, having it rebound, trying to break everything. That's what I thought this game was. But seeing this most recent trailer, it seems to be much more apparent that it's just a bullet hell. Just a pew pew shooty shooty bullet hell. Which again, there's a place for those games. Not gonna say there isn't. But I thought we were getting something unique that tied Breakout to a roguelike bullet hell shooter. And instead we just got a normal bullet hell shooter. So that was a bit disappointing. But just to confirm that I am understanding this game correctly, I'm going to do the thing where I look up the details now. So I am seeing a demo on Steam. I was not aware it had a demo. Did it get a demo on Nintendo? Doesn't mention it on the Indie World, but now I'm kind of tempted to look that up on the eShop too. Like I said, a demo can answer a lot more questions than a Steam page on its own, but I do understand it requires extra development. Okay, searching Ball Pit on the eShop does not seem to yield any result related to this game. To be fair, I didn't include the X. I don't know if that's important. Nope. Okay, so no, the demo is only on Steam as far as I can tell. Planned for October 15th release. And in the direct, it said that the Switch 2 version is going to be fall, like nebulous fall. So I guess they need more time to optimize for that version. So even then, you might want to wait on it. But if you only have a Switch and you're really interested in this, then October is the month for you. Anyway, this is a fast-paced fantasy roguelike, according to the Steam page. You're diving into a pit of monsters. A pretty typical roguelike fare, I would say. Get a growing arsenal of magic infused projectiles. I don't know why I struggled on that word. Yeah, it doesn't really mention anything about rebounding. I mean, you can see the projectiles rebounding off of the walls and other enemies, and I guess that's what I mistook for breakout style gameplay, but I guess it's just like, look at all the particles. Look at how everything bounces. You'll be able to take stuff out real quickly, or the opposite is true. They can take you out quickly. It seems like a lot to keep track of on the screen. I guess most of the projectiles I'm seeing on screen in the Steam preview page are your own, and they don't harm you. Was this? I thought I saw a second person. Does it say if it's single player or not? I don't know. There might be co-op. Can't seem to find one way or the other on the Steam page, so take that with a grain of salt, but I thought I saw 2 people in the shot. Anyway, let's get back to the indie world. Move on from Ball Pit. Ultimate Sheep Raccoon. It got a brief trailer here. So, just like Ball Pit, not the first time I've seen this game. In fact, I played this one. There was a demo at PAX, so I actually have hands-on time with this game. It is very fun. It is possible to get a turnaround, come from behind victory very easily. They did not mention 8-player mode when I was at PAX, though, so I think that was new information here. And cross-platform is great because it's an indie game, and so if your audience is going to be splintered across platforms, you want people to actually be able to play it. So, like, good game. Did it really belong in this presentation? I don't know, but I can at least tell you this game is fun if you have people to play it with. Was talking with Mandu before, and like that's the number one problem with the game. You need people to agree to play it with you, to have the time to actually be able to make the purchase. So many factors, but it will have a Switch 2 version, and we get a nebulous winter release date. So, probably around the same time as Age of Imprisonment. All right, sorry for the brief pause there. Had to cut away for a sneeze. All right, we get arguably the highlight of the Direct in terms of something new and interesting. We did have that Metroidvania earlier, but a lot of other stuff here has been updates, and we had that puzzle game, but like that's just a cute little budget puzzle title. And while I'm gonna be into that, it's still not earth-shattering. But if you want Earth being shattered, we can talk about the 65 million year post-apocalypse. And like seeing this underwater screen just takes me to Subnautica in my brain, but obviously this is a very different game. This is an action RPG. You are one of these avian evolved creatures living in the beneath the surface of the ice that is covering the earth in the distant, distant future. You are doing battle with these sea creatures. Seeing that they have material drops. You can level up your skills. So, this is the type of thing I'm talking about for an indie world. We needed more of that. And again, maybe not a game for me. They are slating a holiday release date. I do want to look up additional details on this one because, unlike Sheep Raccoon, I haven't played it. Okay, surprise. Just like one of the other games earlier, this one does have a free demo on Steam. You can already play this, and this developer has a collection on Steam, which includes Touhou Luna Nights, if I'm reading this correctly, Outrider Mako, Nitro Express, Double Urban Legend Hunters 2. Did that say Bright Memory? Are these the people who did Bright Memory? No, that's it. Wait. Oh, no, they published it. They published Bright Memory along with the developer. So yeah, this has a demo. I play as a creature fighting against that which has come to threaten the Everwinter. Yeah, the description here doesn't really say much more than the trailer did. You can probably glean a lot more from the trailer than the Steam page. But hey, if you like underwater post-apocalypse environments and a potentially unique combat system, then go for it. If you have Steam, like, go ahead and grab the demo. Again, that's going to tell you everything you need. All right, then we get to the sizzle reel. So this is where I'm going to have to pause a lot more to see if there's any goodies hidden in the sizzle reel. There's one that's not so hidden and that deserved more than a sizzle reel appearance. So Winterboro, we've seen this in past Indie Worlds, and I didn't quite realize it until after the fact. Yeah, it gives Don't Starve vibes, even though the style is much cuter than that. You're wandering the winter wastelands, you're a mouse. You saw that there was your typical slashing combat. And then before we talk Undusted, let me briefly look up some extra stuff on that last game in case anyone's interested. All right, gotta point out that Winterboro is another one that secretly has a Steam demo in case you didn't know this. You play as a mouse who returns from the big city to find their childhood home in ruins. This is from the Steam page. You want to restore your burrow and relax in front of the fireplace, but you'll have to brave the elements and beware of wildlife in order to do all that. Here's a tagline for you: Cozy, approachable survival. It is a survival game that you play at your own pace. I will admit that's a decent hook. Trying to get people into a genre that they may not have experienced before. I like when games can do that for me. So maybe I ought to give that demo a shot. All right, moving on. The next bit in the sizzle reel is Undusted Letters from the Past. Sorry for the brief clip there. You know, I feel like this game is pretty self-explanatory just from looking at it in the sizzle reel trailer. You are dusting off artifacts. So there's a power wash simulator element of, oh, let me restore this thing to pristine condition and get that satisfaction of chipping away everything I need to chip away at. While there is probably a larger narrative going on about, like, you know, what are these things that you're digging up and undusting tell you about the world, the history, possibly some characters. I imagine that's the angle they're going with, but I will verify this in just a moment. Oh, would you look at that? Another Steam demo. Release date to be announced. Okay, undusted. The stuff you're undusting is in your mother's home after she passes. So it's your own memories of the past. I knew there'd be some sort of narrative focus on it. I think the only other thing I would point out about this game is that when you're watching the Indie World, it has the Nintendo Switch logo in the corner, not the Nintendo Switch 2 logo. So while you might expect some mouse controls for dusting stuff off, like it would likely be on Steam, don't think you're getting that. Maybe it's got touchscreen support, but this one is unknown release date, so I don't think you can even look that up on the eShop yet. Hey, surprise shadow drop for Tiny Bookshop. Let's take a brief look at this part of the sizzle reel. You are organizing books. You are sending out packages. Yeah, indeed, you are running a tiny little bookshop, and it's available now. So I'm going to check the Switch eShop page. All right. Since this was a shadow drop, I'm giving you info directly from the Switch 2 eShop. So, Tiny Bookshop, they are asking $20 US for this game. You stock up your tiny bookshop with different books and items. You set up the shop and locations. You get to know the locals, and then you do your thing and you sell stuff. Every item also has an effect on your customers and can introduce new mechanics, says the description. The the characters are friendly, they promise, also from the description. Oh, you get to collect stamps. Ooh. Shoutouts to Stamp Guy from Echoes of Wisdom. That dude is the real one. Anyway, now I'm curious because every time I've looked up one of these games, there's been a Steam demo. I don't know if that'll be the case for this one since it is a actual released game, but let me check. Would you believe me if I said that there is a Steam demo if you have access to Steam and don't want to pay $20 for this thing right out the gate and just want to be extra sure of your purchase? Then, pro tip from me, check that out. But I imagine that if you're into shop simulators, then this one will probably hit home for you pretty well. I'll talk a bit more about this at the end of things here, but the number one weird thing about this indie world was the pacing, what they chose to really spend time on and what got shafted into the sizzle reel here. Because if selling stuff to people introduces new mechanics, I think it would have been great to show an example of like just one of those in an extended trailer for the game, especially since this is a shadow drop and you want to sell people on it to pick it up right the heck now. Right? So how come we got more time on free update for Little Kitty Big City and less time on this? I don't know, and that's just one example. Moving ahead through the sizzle reel, the next one that we see is Caves of Qud, or however that is pronounced. Man, this looks very PC coded in a way that I am like, I have no idea what is happening here. There's a character creator, okay. There's a bunch of stuff that you can try and read that is going to zoom by when you're watching the sizzle reel normally. Okay, so these are characters that have like D&D qualities. Like this one says persuasion, intimidate. Next one over says toughness, butchery, uses an axe. Okay, so we got a tile system. I have no idea what's going on in those shots with the tile system. There's a grave for Tishrimur. You were consumed whole by a salt kraken. Here's a game summary. So, like, there's a game inside a game element here. Yeah, we are definitely looking that one up for more details. All right, so apparently this game is already out on Steam. It does not have a demo, but you can buy it on Steam for $30. And so this is a Switch port that we are getting. First review says epic science fantasy RPG full of engrossing stories and elegantly designed deep world simulation. All right, Caves of Qud, directly from the Steam description, is a science fantasy roguelike epic adventure dipped in retro futurism, deep simulation, and wow, this is just a lot of words. Fizzle through layers of thousand-year-old civilizations. Is it a dying Earth or on the verge of rebirth? Features: do anything and everything. Don't let the wall block in your way, dig through it. Every monster and NPC is fully simulated as the player. That means they have levels, skills, equipment, etc. So if you have a mutation that lets you, say, psionically dominate a spider, you can traipse through the world as a spider, laying webs and eating things. This is the type of stuff that you spend more time on. Like, I know this game is already out, and so maybe it wasn't, like, worth a bunch of time in an indie world to show something that you could already buy on Steam, but quests, NPCs, villages, historic sites. Turn-based sandbox exploration and combat offers as many solutions as you and your mutations, implants, artifacts, and skills are creative enough to invent. Speaking of mutations, there's over 70 of them. Yeah, so like, apparently this game had been worked on for like 9 years before it reached 1.0. Had a bunch of updates, so I imagine that there is a segment of the fandom that is just, been following this game for a while. Now they can play it portably on Switch. I mean, I guess it would also run on Steam Deck. I can check that because the game is out. Yeah, it's verified for Steam Deck, so it's been portable for a while, if you count that. All right, yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting, but it also sounds so overwhelming, and the trailer did not help with that sense of overwhelming dread of decision paralysis and like what is even happening in this game. I can't decipher what's happening on screen. But that definitely sounds like someone's kind of game. So maybe consider checking out the Switch port whenever that comes. All right, back to the indie world. Strange Antiquities. September 17th, pre-order now. You're flipping through a book. You're looking at a map. You're rolling some dice. That is all we see of that. So, onto the internet. All right, number 1, add this to the list of games that have a free Steam demo. Number 2, you are a shopkeeper selling these strange antiquities, I guess. All right, apprentice thaumaturge. I don't know why I said shopkeeper. But just reading through the Steam description so I can give you the highlights. Gameplay mechanics. All right, again, this is from the Steam page. So you must identify, examine, and catalog the strange artifacts. When dealing with powerful items, your choices matter. Will you help someone with their problem or curse them with an affliction? You'll have to leave the Oh, it is a shop. Okay. You'll have to leave the safety of the shop when investigating rumors or retrieving artifacts. Door holds many puzzles. And the cat demands daily affection. I love how that's a game mechanic. All right. This is developed by two brothers from the UK. All right. Their previous game was. Hold on. Their previous game was Strange Horticulture. And this is not a direct sequel to Strange Horticulture. Their plants may pop up, but it's a brand new story. All right. Once again, no harm in trying a demo. if you think that there's any chance that that is your thing, but I do like the notion of like figuring out what the artifact even is. That sounds like a promising hook. I like a good mystery. But I think it would all come down to, how exactly does one solve that mystery? It seemed like there is reference material in the shop that you'll have to go through to do all that, hence the flipping through the books that we saw. And now back to the indie world. Opus Prism Peak. Available in the fall. This is showing animals and running around, but you see there's a camera around that guy's neck. They did not show a single bit of photography. Oh my god. So they put this in the sizzle reel. And I haven't shown you the Japan Direct yet, but they spent a lot more time on this game in the Japanese indie world. And like it actually showed the bits where you're taking pictures. At one point in this trailer, as you're running through that train and this Calamity Ganon looking thing is chasing after you, the guy's holding up the camera, seemingly trying to get a picture of it. So I'm surprised to see that absent from this little sizzle reel moment. All right, from the Steam page, there is no demo for this one. However, it does describe that you're an old photographer and you are exploring an ethereal mountain realm. You are using your camera to go around and solve the mysteries. Players must take in the surroundings, understand what each spirit desires, and capture the realm's secrets through their lens. Now, it turns out the girl that you are carrying on your piggyback style in the trailer is got amnesia. So, more mystery. You can bond with the spirits. Anyway, if you like photography games, check that out. Otherwise, I don't know. And then where we left off in the sizzle reel is Go-Go Town, another game that got more attention in the Japan Direct. This reminds me of the Little People playsets to a degree, like those play mats that you would play on and, have the people drive around town, doing their jobs, living their lives. Here we see that in video game form. Let's go back before the final announcement, the best one. Like, you get a scooter and stuff. Tell you what, we'll talk about this one more when we get to the Japan Direct. So that shows a lot more. UFO 50 did not deserve this. Hold on. Where did it go? Also doesn't deserve me messing up. Anyway, they ended the presentation on the sizzle reel, which in itself is already strange. You usually like to give one more thing. And then they end that sizzle reel on UFO 50, so you barely get time to see what it is. There are people who know this game and thought it was on Switch for the longest time. I have to keep telling them, no, it wasn't on Switch. So this is our first console port of the game. If you have been waiting for it to leave PC exclusively, then here you go. It's a shadow drop today. They totally could have ended the game, the whole presentation on this, given it its own full-fledged trailer. Like the entire indie world was only 15 minutes. You could have used more minutes. But for those who don't know, UFO 50 is... Here, I'm going to show the shirt that I'm wearing, because I manifested this. This is the Fan Gamer UFO 50 t-shirt that I wore today in hopes that we would actually see this at the indie world. And hooray! It is my Game of the Year 2024, because I did play it on Steam via the Steam Deck. And it's an action replay, but with all original games. It is a collection of 50 games. The 50 in the title is the number of games in this package. and they're all brand spanking new from the ground up. You should also know that the team behind this is led by the person who did Spelunky, by the way, so there is a pedigree to the developer as well. But yeah, this is a collection of 50 games. And like, yeah, they're obviously on the simpler, slightly smaller side. Although some of them are highly replayable because all of these are like coded to the NES. We're talking about games that would have hypothetically come out in the 1980s. As we know, those games aren't bad because they're old. That's not how time works. They can still be good games. But the number one thing about UFO 50 is that in those games, there are so many fresh ideas that you're amazed haven't actually been explored in a game before. And there's a big variety of genre as well. So even if you don't take to all 50 games, it's unlikely that you will enjoy all 50 games. But it's a $25 package for 50 games. So that is an average of 50 cents per game. So if you get I think even if you just enjoy one of the games, that you're doing pretty good. But hopefully you'd enjoy more than one of the games in the package. They explore a wide variety of genres. There is a full-fledged RPG in the game. There is a horror game, which I did a full playthrough of on the channel, if you want to check that out. There are your typical puzzle games, there are high score chaser games. There's 2-player multiplayer. I need to point that out. You've got a friend. You want to do some new retro style action. There are games that you can play here with a friend. One is kind of similar to Sanrio World Smash Ball, but versus. And another really fun one called Paint Chase, where you it's like Platoon, but with go karts, and in a much shorter time interval. Let's see. There's some platforming. There's this one called Porgy where you dive down in the depths. So it's kind of that one gives me Dave the Diver vibes. Oh, it's a lot more like. But like, yeah, I feel like there is at least something for everyone in this package somewhere, and that it is such a big accomplishment of gaming. So please consider checking this out now that it's on the Switch. But it's still there on Steam if you'd prefer to play it there. But it gets a high recommendation from me. Here in the sizzle reel, let's talk about the ones that we see in the sizzle reel. This is a tactics game that we see in the sizzle reel. So again, big variety of genres. In this one, you are, yeah. I need to remember the specifics of this one, but you have to plan out your attacks in specific ways to be able to get things done. And then we see, Mortal. This is Mortal. It is a platformer where you need to strategically die. So I got, you have like a little army of disposable soldiers, and you just need one of them to reach the goal. So you need to figure out how to properly kill off the other ones to make the next person's run manageable. Of course, you could run out if you're not careful. There's the Sanrio Smash World comparison I was making. This is Bushido Ball. This is a platformer called Waldorf's Dream. Very slippery and floaty, but can be fun. And like, come on, but yeah, that's how they ended it. It was just like, oh yeah, here you go. Why didn't they flesh out this presentation more? Why? I don't know. And it's extra baffling because in Japan they got 5 extra minutes and more games and more time spent on each game. So let's take a look at that. Trying to find where it starts. So I have switched over to the Japan Direct. So first they get their little notification that like, guys, watch the logo. It's either going to be Switch or Switch 2. Pay attention. So Go Go Town from our sizzle reel is the very first thing that gets shown here. And there are, oh, sorry, this isn't Go Go Town. This is Wobbly Life, which was briefly shown at a previous Nintendo presentation some time ago, was given a nebulous release window, but they're really going to town showing this one here. See what I did there? Go Go Town. I got it mixed up with, and now I said go into town. Yeah, they're showing the wild and wacky stuff you can do. Look at them wobble. So that's Wobbly Life. Painting, there's boating stuff. So, like, you know, there's an audience for this. The first time I saw it at a previous presentation, it just looked like a discount Human Fall Flat to me. And that game is eventually getting a sequel. Then they show Is This Seat Taken? We've talked about that one and how I actually like the premise. They spent more time on Winterboro. This one was in our sizzle reel, but they decided to really show this one. But I talked about the details from the Steam page, so I shall spare you. Talking about crafting stuff, upgrading, building shortcuts. Then we have a game that I cannot decipher because I don't know how to read this language. Anyway, my friend described this as Baba is you, but in kanji. And I don't know how true that statement is because neither of us speak Japanese. But it does look like you're pushing the kanji around. No, wait, actually, there is a logo for the company on this one, Fly High Works. Maybe I'll look them up. Okay, so I went and looked up Fly High Works. They have a website, and underneath the title for this game, it says Word Game. And so take what I say with a grain of salt because I think I'm using auto translation on my internet browser. Word Game is literally a game of words. This is a Steam page. Player controls I to find clues between lines, delete words to change the meaning of sentences, or shift words to rewrite facts. Well, English language is not supported. It does have a demo. If you can read Japanese and you want to play the Steam demo, that is an option. Like, it would take a lot of work to make that work in English. So I guess maybe Baba Is You is a good comparison because you're changing the meaning of sentences and that would have an impact on the game. I loved Baba Is You. By the way, great puzzle game. So if you're looking for something like that, then I would just start there. That one does have English. But it's also not so much English that you need to learn a lot if you don't know English. And everything's color coded. So I feel like even if you don't speak much English, you could probably figure it out. So moving on from Word Game. This is Undusted. They spent more time talking about that one, probably getting into the narrative side of things, showing that you're using different tools to get the dust off. Again, it's a power wash simulator type effect. All right, Go Go Town. We can talk more about this one like I promised to because it's got its own spot here in the Japan Direct. We see that you're constructing buildings, so, you know, a la Animal Crossing City Works. Like, it seems to be going a bit deeper. Like, here's a whole train station. Maybe a bit more like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but for a town. There are other games. Is that right? SimCity? I don't know. It's clearly just one big life sim where they wanted to go all out with a bunch of options. Got your gathering of materials. You got talking to people. Looked like you had another Power Wash sim style moment earlier in the trailer. There's farming because, of course, there's farming. Split screen multiplayer. Anything else before it cut away? Scooters. We saw the scooters in our own trailer as well, and that's slated for 2026. So maybe now I'll look up if there's any other details on this one. All right, I'm on Steam. It mentions there's a demo, and it also mentions the game is in early access. So in the About the Game section, again, getting this off of Steam, you got your dream job, mayor of a picturesque town. What it didn't mention was the crumbling economy, vacant homes, and logistic systems that is just mostly you. It says you're sprinting between disasters. You're trying to build and expand your town. Need to keep the town running and making money. So I guess my Roller Coaster Tycoon comparison was a little more apt than I thought. You are setting up logistics networks, optimizing supply chains, getting things automated, maybe even a little Pikmin-esque in that sense. I need to figure out the most efficient way to get things done. But I guess stuff is just going to keep happening. Chaos rules this city, and you need to be the one to deal with it. Yeah, that's a much better description than what the sizzle reel showed us. Maybe that was better explained in Japanese, but since I don't speak Japanese, I didn't get the message. But it's certainly much better than just, here's a city builder life sim, good luck. All right, then Japan, we got... This is Neverway, right? Yeah, this is Neverway. So they also got an extended trailer for this one. The Indie World curators sure are a fan of this one because they keep showing it and giving it a bunch of time on the screen. So this was the Japanese sizzle reel. Plate up. If you need to fill an overcooked shaped hole in your heart, then there you go, I guess. This is where they put the big picture update for Little Kitty Big City. Now stuff that will also have a Switch 2 edition, like Ultimate Ultimate Sheep Raccoon. They were showing the previous game to establish what this is. But I already talked about how much I liked this one, and if I had someone to play it with, then I would totally pick it up. The bike is a fun new chaotic element because you gotta manage your speed, momentum, your angle of landing. And then we have this game, which I don't know the name of, but this was another exclusive to the Japan indie world. We see two astronauts who just so happen to be color-coded to the Switch 2. I see that this is a co-op game, showing local wireless, but near the end of the trailer there will be a Switch Online symbol, so I believe it will also support online co-op. Oh no, they got zapped. Better be more careful with managing that Switch. They met a pig thing. They couldn't get back up to the Switch. Because like I said, this is the Japan turret, so I have no idea what they are saying or what is happening. Oh, they got defeated again. Will they ever figure out how to bypass this obstacle? Aha! One person stays by the switch and zaps the pig. Now you can see there's another puzzle involving getting keys to doors. And because this is wireless or online, you've got like your own separate instances of the world, so you could go off in totally different places. Again, this is all of what I'm trying to imply from a trailer that I do not understand because it's not in my language. So if anyone knows this game better, or any of these games, by the way, if you know anything about any of these games, want to recommend any, or recommend against any, or just elaborate on details that I got right or wrong, then, the comments are there. This is developed by Kodansha, so maybe I can find this game as well. All right, I managed to find the game on a Steam page called Bokura Planet. And it's already on Steam, actually. It's been out for a bit, and it's on sale right now for 30% off. It's $3.84 with the sale price? Wow. And there's a special demo. So it's cheap, and there's a demo. All right, note, very underlined note. Players must communicate with each other to play this game. So this is a Hazelight Studio situation. It's made for co-op. The game itself does not provide voice chat. Although, if it's coming to Switch 2, that means you could use the Switch 2's game chat. So that might actually be an advantage for some people. And perhaps, well, I'm seeing two reasons in the description why it is so cheap. Number one, you both need a copy of the game. So if you need to sell twice as many copies, then I guess you'd make it less expensive. But also the estimated playing time in the Steam description, like the developer wrote this in the Steam description. The playing time is approximately 3 hours. Now, apparently, this is a follow up to a different game called Bokura. Bokura Planet is its own little spin off thing. Oh, yeah, Bokura is also the same way. It's a small, inexpensive co op adventure. Okay, so it's kind of like a sequel in that sense. Maybe a spin off. I don't know. If you would like to play this, it's on Steam. So now they're showing Ball Pit. And yeah, there's a bunch of shooting and rebounding happening. Just gonna skip on through because we talked about this one. Opus Prism Peak, and they're actually showing the fact that this is a photography game. In the English indie world, you had to imply it from the camera around the guy's neck in one of the shots. They're driving along. There's got a much longer trailer here. You're seeing some of these spirit animal companions that was mentioned in the Steam description. And it's supposed to come out this year for Switch and 2. Oh, here's a fun little surprise. Pico Park 2 is getting mouse stages for Switch 2. Why was this not in the English Direct? They have shown Pico Park 2 in previous Indie Worlds, and so that quick little update, why would the English-speaking audience not want that? I don't know. I really like Pico Park 2. I've talked about it in Best Games of 2024. I don't know what Exit 8 is, but it's getting a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, and it seems to be running well. And it's out at the end of August. And that seems to be it for... Oh, now they're showing UFO 50. But also in the sizzle reel, so Japan didn't really give it any extra attention either. Herdling was in their sizzle reel. Demon School is a tactics game that I demoed at PAX. I know a bunch of people who are hyped for this one. So again, why was this not in the North American indie world? It's baffling. But it was fun. It's a different sort of tactics game where you got to plan out everything and then you get to see the effects of your actions as opposed to just attack and then immediately you attack. Because, you know, you're a team in that game. So it's about coordinating everything. So I enjoyed it well enough. And then here we have Glaciered. And they really go to town on Glaciered, showing more of the combat. And then finally, they have the little recap montage at the end. Nothing new in this montage. This was just the conclusion. So, like, ending on Glaciered is a choice. Because that is a brand new game that's running on your Switch 2 with its impressive graphics and has this unique premise. Like, that to me is at least a better conclusion than what we got. But I do think UFO 50 should have been the spotlight. So, all that said, that was the indie world. Hopefully, all my comments made it very clear that, like, a lot of this stuff was already out previously. Some of it has Steam demos, whereas we don't have a demo for it on Switch. So you can get a lot more information by trying those. And the North American indie world was stuff we've seen before. Mina, yeah, we knew about that. That's still coming. Still looks great. Little Kitty Big City, we've had that game. Is just getting a free update with new stuff, and they didn't even really properly convey that there's like a whole new area, in my opinion. You get the Ball Pit. If you watch the Devolver thing, is something that was pretty well known. So, like, apart from a couple morsels here and there, not to be confused with Morsels, the game that is still delayed from a previous Indie World showcase. That was one game that I wouldn't mind an update on because I'm looking forward to that one, but, you know, take the time you need. But I'm happy we got the UFO 50 port, and that puzzle game looks decently fun. So hopefully this video helped you come to your own conclusions. If there were any games here where it just felt like this indie world maybe did them a disservice by not elaborating on them long enough. So as such, I really hope that they reconsider how they structure these in the future. And yeah, I mean, at this precise moment, I don't know if I'm going to title this video "The Worst Indie World Ever?" ? But there is maybe an argument for that just because of the pacing and the lack of meaningful information on a lot of these titles. I had to do my own digging, and I would encourage you to do the same if there is anything that remotely interests you. Then make an informed purchasing decision, as opposed to just missing out on something great otherwise. Go buy UFO 50. That's the moral of this video. Just do that for me, will you? Again, if you need more convincing, I've got coverage of the game in Best Games of 2024 and in my playthrough of Night Manor. So, yeah, I'm just going to tell you to go check those out. If you ever want to chat along live about one of these Nintendo presentations or any other company's presentations for that matter, I try and do this when I can over on the Twitch side. And that's that. Hope everyone's having a good one. Let's go support some indies.